Edition. We are rocking on the Artist Spotlight Show. We had a 1 o'clock, we have a 2 o'clock, we have a 3 o'clock, we have a 4 o'clock, we have a 5 o'clock. I bet you cannot say that 10 times fast, can you? Either can I. Welcome back, my friends, to the Artist Spotlight Show. It's your friend Russell K, and we have a really cool author that we're going to talk to. His name is Randy Ware, and he has got an amazing career, and his books are just amazing. Before we brought him live on air, I did my homework on him, and I checked him out, and he's got some pretty cool things that we're going to find out about him. And if you're an upcoming and aspiring artist looking to get your name out there, feel free to send your request to info.musicdreamsusa@gmail.com. Our show, a special thank you to Mickey and Creative Edge. And as he supplies and continues to supplies all the amazing artists that he's given us so far. So, Mickey, thank you for all that you do for Music Dreams USA Radio. Table and Mike Productions, Eagle Streak Corporation, Biker Bay Barber and Company, and Music Dreams USA Radio. We play everything for everyone. And so, without any further delay, let's bring in our special guest, Mr. Randy Ware. Randy, how are you, my friend?
I'm great, Russell. How are you doing today?
I'm just like living the dream, that's simple.
I mean, there are definitely a lot worse jobs to have, right? That get to interview and talk to people, right?
I know. I was just thinking about that too, right before you came on here. You must be looking at my cheat sheet on my right hand side. But I do. I love my job. I'm not gonna lie to you, right? We just interviewed Mandy right before you came on, and she had me in stitches. I mean, we were just talking, and the interview was so funny. I told her that when I go into my second interview with you, I'll probably still be laughing from interview number one. So, but it's
We'll
a
try
fun.
to keep it
It's a great
laughing.
time. Yeah, it's a really cool time. You meet some real neat people, and people that maybe you would never ever meet before or ever again. And so, I just love what we do, and thank you for being part of that.
Yeah, it's great to be on the show.
Oh, great to have you. So let's kick off our show, and for our listeners watching on, we'll be watching later. Can you maybe share with them who is Randy Ware? How did he begin? Where's he right now? And what is some of the best advice that you've gotten in your magical career?
Well, I live in Colorado. I'm in a suburb of Denver. Married, got a daughter, two dogs, live in a nice house. We love to travel, go around the country and stuff. But I've been writing since I was a teenager. As I tell most people, I wrote to deal with teenage angst. I wrote poetry and stuff like that, song lyrics, whatever. I wish I could had a little more music talent though to put the music to the lyrics. And now I write books to deal with middle-aged angst. So that's kind of my therapy, so to speak. And but I love we travel the country at times. This year we wanted to do a lot of travel. We're going to be on the road. We have a motorhome, so we could live out of the motorhome. My wife can work remotely, as long as we got a good internet connection. That's always the challenge when you're traveling. But we wanted to, but then the gas prices got a little crazy this year, so we didn't quite travel quite as much as we planned. But we've been to Arizona this year. We've been to New Mexico. We've been to South Dakota. Drove through Wyoming to get to South Dakota. We were in Iowa for an event. We'll be heading to Nashville, Tennessee for a big author event in August, and then we've got another trip to Loveland for another event, Loveland, Colorado, which is north of us. So, but we like to travel and do a lot of work. I do a lot of work around the house these days. I'm basically retired these days, other than writing books, and I've written quite a few.
Oh, and a lot of very successful ones at that. I mean, your books are getting some big time attention. We'll talk about that a little bit later.
Mhm.
But at what point in your life did you realize, well, hey, I really, as you just mentioned, you really enjoy writing. At what point in your life did you realize, you know what, I can maybe make a living off of this, and this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. What did that look like for you?
Well, I wrote, like I said, I've been writing most of my life. I wrote 3 novels back in the 80s. even kind of before computers. I actually wrote a lot of it on a little manual typewriter on paper, and I think I still even have some of the paper stored away, for museum pieces one of these days. Tried to get them published, had no luck, way before the days of independent publishing, and but got married, had a child, and all that writing got put on a back burner. That kind of became the priority in my life, being married and house and dogs and raising a daughter and all those things became the priority. And then when she got older, I started to revisit those things, and I had a short story, and I go, okay, well, I'll self-publish that. And it was called The Case of the Missing Bubblegum Card with a private eye named Jarvis Mann. And people read it and they said, this Jarvis Mann is he's kind of a snarky private eye and tough and all that. It would make a good series. And then I wrote the next book, Tracking a Shadow, and then went on from there. And I've had 11 books in that series. And that was kind of the point where I was like, okay, I want to keep going there. When you get some positive feedback from people saying, I really like your characters and I like your writing, and even sometimes the negative stuff too, that you do get those negative reviews where people sit there and say, I don't really like that, or he's not a very likable character and stuff like that. Well, that's kind of, sometimes you write those characters that way. You want them, you don't want everyone to be likable. You want some people that are going to mix things up and cause trouble sometimes. So that was kind of when it was. And that first book was published in 2014, and I will have a 17th book coming out in a month or two, in the final editing process right now.
Wow, 17 books. That's amazing. Wow, that's awesome. So, what does your since we're talking about your books and you're getting ready to release, as you mentioned, a book number 17, what does your writing process look like? I know every author is a little bit different. What does yours look like?
Well, I'm very much, you have the pantser, and then you have the plotter, and then sometimes you have the one that kind of sits in between. I'm very much a pantser. I sit down with a basic idea. Sometimes it's just a title. Sometimes it's just a basic storyline. I sit down and start writing, and I kind of let the story develop as I write it. And sometimes you get down some rabbit holes you got to write yourself out of. I tried to plot a little bit more and outline in front, and it just didn't work for me. So, and I often mention too that the characters a lot of times are sitting in the room with me, talking to me and going, I want a bigger part, or no, I don't want to be that way, or whatever. And so, but that Private Eye series, it was written in first person, so it was through the private eye's eyes. And a lot of people ask, is that private eye you? And sometimes some things about him are similar to me, and some things about him are definitely not like me. But and he sometimes is just the driving force, that he's the one that's going, and he's an investigative private eye, and he gets a case and he follows it, and I'm kind of discovering the case as he's discovering the case, so just like any other detective would do. And that's kind of the way that series has kind of evolved. And then I've had two other series that as well since then, including the Divine Devils thriller series, and then I have my Steel Wheels Cold Mystery series, which is my newest series, which will be only have one book, and book two will be one that's coming out in a couple months.
How would you describe inspiration for all the work that you do? What does that look like for you?
You mean inspiration as in other
Finished
authors that I've
product,
read, or
feedback. It could be feedback. It could be one of your books, whatever the case may be. Inspiration could be maybe some of the feedback you got from one of your readers, or inspiration could be the process of when you put it together. You look back and it's like, man, I never thought about that. And wow, I mean, so I know that when you're an author, sometimes when you plan to write a book, sometimes the plan doesn't go according to plan. Sometimes there's little curveballs in there. So an example of inspiration would be, if that were the case with you, you had inspiration to overcome that curveball, whatever you wanted to call it. That's kind of what the question is really asking you.
yeah, I mean, I've always had a lot of inspiration, and some of it can be, it's just ideas that are just always flowing in my head. I mean, I'm always thinking about stories, and some of it comes from you watch TV or movies and stuff as well. And I kind of frustrate my family sometimes because I'll watch a story and I'll go, I might solve the crime in 5 minutes, 10 minutes within the story, or I'll criticize it, going, oh, that couldn't work that way. That plot line is so crazy and stuff. So sometimes I get inspiration from just watching other stuff and reading other books. Sometimes, I think as an author, you do need to read. And for me, I've always been Robert B. Parker was a huge inspiration for me. The Spencer series, Jesse Stone, which the late Robert B. Parker, he passed away in 1980, I think it was, or no, 2000, something like that. But he's a great inspiration for me. I always loved that. I read, Ian Fleming, the early James Bond books. Now I read a lot of Michael Connelly, Lee Child. All those authors, I read those stories, and a lot of times it gives me ideas to help. But they've always been in my head, and I know when I wrote my serial killer book, that writing a serial killer book was tough because there's some chapters in there through his eyes, so I'm having to be in the shoes of a serial killer. And I did. It was funny. I did a book club, and that was the book they read, and they enjoyed the book. And one lady asked me, "What type of frame of mind did you have to be in to write this book?" And it was interesting when she asked that question. I says, "Well, it was I wanted to write a serial killer book. I needed to be in the shoes of a serial killer. Those ideas were in my head. I got them on a piece of paper. They were gone, and got them out. Some nights I couldn't sleep so well when those ideas were in my head, so I had to kind of sit down and do it. But those were all inspirational. Feedback from readers is always great. Like I said, negative feedback is even good too. I mean, I don't necessarily mind if it's a positive thing. If someone just says the book sucks, that doesn't really help you much. But
Yeah, really.
yeah, but if they tell you, I thought the character was maybe too one-dimensional, and something, give you a little good criticism, then that's always inspiration to look back. And you might go back and read that book and you go, yeah, I think I could see where they said that. And the next time I'll work on it a little bit more.
Let's dig into the books you talk about, like the serial killers, the drama series, all that stuff. I mean, if you had to pick a favorite TV show that would kind of like resonate with what you're writing, what show would you pick?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, and I have three different types of series. I mean, they're all kind of investigative series. The Private Eye series, very much, could be. The old Spencer TV show wasn't too bad. Robert B. Parker wasn't happy with it because he didn't feel like Robert Urich was the best character because he wasn't really the right size, and he was a little too pretty looking for to play Spencer, because Spencer was a former boxer and his nose had been broken a bunch of times and all that. And Robert Urich was a good looking guy. But that would be similar. The Bosch series is good. Television wise, that's there. I don't think there's too much that's real similar to what my books are. I think they're unique. The Divine Devils is a thriller series, and it's about a retired U.S. Marshal and puts together this team. So, people say, well, maybe A Team, but it really wasn't A Team because those guys were just kind of, a bunch of crazy mismatched people. This was a team that he put together, and they all had specific skill sets and stuff like that. And then my new series is about a retired Westminster, Colorado police officer who travels in a motorhome writing a blog because he's recently widowed, and that's kind of his therapy, to write his blog, and people contact him. And the first book, he goes out and tries to solve a cold case, a 3-year-old murderer. So, there's some similarities, but I think they're all very, at least I feel like they're unique in a lot of ways, and not really anything like that. But I'd love to see them maybe turn into a TV series down the road if somebody could do justice to it. That's always the challenge.
No, you just mentioned that you've written 17 books. Let's take a trip down memory lane.
Mhm.
Of those 17 books, which one or ones are your favorite and why?
Yeah, I get that question asked a lot, and it's always tough. It's like picking your favorite child. In my case, I got one child, so it's easy to pick. Yeah, when you got
That's the
17
same
children,
answer there, Randy.
yeah, I think for me, the latest book is always the favorite to me because it's the newest. It's in my head, out on paper. I think everyone I've written, I've been proud of. I go back and I look to some reads. If I go back and read some, and I've read some of my older books for quite a while, but I read them now and I go, eh, yeah, the voice wasn't quite there yet. I think my voice really started to hit about my fifth or sixth book, and since there. But I think every book, Mayhem in Music City, was my most recent Jarvis Mann book, and I was really proud of that book. And actually, I have it sitting here so people can see that.
Oh, very cool. Thank you
Place
for
in
sharing.
Nashville, Tennessee, helping out a fictional in my book, a country music duo that someone is threatening them. And I really enjoyed writing that book. And then my latest book, which is going to be Justice for the Accused, which follows up to Justice for the Forgotten, would be the one I'm working on now. And I know I'm most proud of it. I know my editor sent it back and she goes, this is really a really good book. So I think each project I'm quite proud of, and it's always hard to pick my favorite. And I'd say my favorite is usually the one that comes out until I start writing the next one.
Good answer. Here's one for you, Randy. I'm going to get you on this one.
Okay.
All right. So we're still down memory lane. 17 books. That's amazing. All right. So of the 17 books, there's various characters in those books, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. This is Mission Impossible. Your job is Mission Impossible is to guess what character of all the characters, what character reminds you the most of that character and why?
That character reminds that I think is more like me.
Yep.
Yeah, that's actually pretty easy, I think. So Jarvis Mann, the private eye in the series, is probably the one who's most like me because of his snarky sense of humor, which I have, though my daughter says she's heard all my jokes and I'm not funny anymore. But that's the character that is most like me. The personality is very much like me. I'm not as I wish I was as tough as he was, but I get myself in trouble a lot. Used to do that all the time when I was working, and that he gets himself in trouble. His mouth gets himself in trouble. I do that all the time now. I still do that. My wife would say that as well, and everything else. It's probably a good thing I've retired from the workforce because I always would get so. Jarvis Mann is definitely the most like me, and still my favorite, really my favorite character to write. I mean, I like I said, I've got book 11, which was the one I just showed you a while ago, and I have a book 12 that's already started. So I don't know when that series is going to end. I had it at book 8. I thought that was going to be the end of the series, and then I started the Divine Devil series, which I did 4 books in there. And then when I finished that book, I'm going, okay, I think I'm going to go back. I have some more ideas for Jarvis, and I brought him back now with 3 more books since then, and a 4th one, like I said, has just started.
Do you think being an author, I mean, say like if someone is interested in being an author, is this something that you're born and meant to do, or could it be a person that maybe has the inspiration to do it, but maybe not all the tools to be a successful author? Your thoughts on that?
So I think most everybody could write a book, whether they could write a good book or not. I'm not so sure, but I think everybody has those ideas. I hear people all the time say, "I always wanted to write a book, and I never sat down and did it." And it's a long, arduous process, and it requires a lot of stick-to-itiveness. You got to really bear down and do it. Some people say, "I've been writing this book for 10 years," and I'm like, "Wow, you've got more dedication than I think I would have given up after 2 or 3 years." So, but I do think there are some people that have that natural storytelling capability, but I think it can be learned. And if you've got a good idea, is just developing And to me, the idea is good, but if you don't have the characters behind the idea, that's the thing. You can get away with a weak storyline if you've got good characters, but I don't think you can get away with having bad characters with a decent storyline. I just think that it just doesn't work. So those are the hardest things that for people have to do. But I think you can do it, and I think most everybody could sit down and do it. It's just obviously time, and you always got to get yourself a good editor too. Because my editor, when I get my stuff back, there's a lot of red on my Word document every time.
Awesome. So, being an independent author, obviously there's a lot of obstacles that come in the way. How do you deal with those obstacles as you are, as I mentioned, an independent author? How do you overcome those obstacles?
Well, it takes a lot of patience and it takes a lot of money too. So, as I tell most people, if you want to write a book, great, but don't figure you're going to get rich at it. If you're lucky enough to get rich out of it, great. But in most cases, it takes a lot of money up front to get out there and write the story, pay for editors, pay for someone to make a cover, design a cover, unless you've got that ability. I mean, unless you're an artistic and you can make your own covers, great. Don't ever try to edit your own book, because that is a recipe for disaster. It's never going to work right. You always got to get extra feedback. But it takes a lot of time, and it takes, like I said, a lot of money. And really, you've got to write that first book, and then really, most people say after you get that first one, you really need to start getting the second one. You get a couple books, and then you try to build up a fan base. I have a website. I've got a newsletter I put out every month with a lot of people that subscribe to read my books, to keep track of everything. But it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience, and in most cases, it's not going to turn into anything fabulous right away. It takes years of perseverance, and you'll sell books to your family, but it's beyond selling to them, is that next thing, and the marketing and going to a lot of book events. If you can get into critique groups, anybody in the area, that always helps to get feedback. I have beta readers that read my books up front as well, and then I have, they call an ARC team, an early reading team, that reads my books in advance, and then we'll post reviews as well. So, but that's taken me a long time to put it all together, and there's a lot of stumbles along the way too, and you're going to throw some money out the window, and there's tons of scams out there. The scams are just horrible right now. I get 3 or 4 emails a day through my website of people saying, "Oh, I'm a part of a book club, 100,000, 10,000, 50,000 readers," and they're just trying to get your money, and then they're scamming you and stuff. And then you just get people who pretend to be real well-known authors who say they want to connect with you, and it's not really them. It's someone just mimicking them. You can usually tell that because it's coming from a Gmail account.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, because if you're a big name author, you have your own domain. So I'm not that big name author, and I have my own domain. So that's always a big red flag there. So, but it takes a lot of perseverance and a lot of time and money. As I tell most people, don't quit your day job, and work at it when you can, and get out there and build that audience over time. And if you've got a good product, it'll eventually sell. And even then it's a struggle, because there are so many people putting books out there. If you've been on Amazon these days, my gosh.
Yeah, you're not Wilson Dixie on that one.
Yeah, and then standing out, that's always the toughest thing too, is in there. So,
it's funny you say that. Yeah, that was going to be my next question for you. How do you deal with the competition? I mean, how do you deal with someone's doing the same thing you're doing? What makes you stand out from your competition?
Well, it's a challenge, and I think it's obviously writing a good story with good characters is the biggest thing, and you do have to do some advertising. You need to get out there in front and do shows like this. I actually have my own podcast where I interview authors as well, and I've enjoyed doing that. And it's a fun thing. But getting your name out there and getting as many reviews as you can help too, and because that always helps you with the algorithms on Amazon, and all the everything there. If you've only got 10 reviews, your book isn't going to really go up to the top. And I don't have, some of these big name authors, they get 10,000 reviews a week after it's released.
Wow.
It's hard to compete against that. So you kind of have to build your own review, get your own review teams, and then get them out there, and then hopefully run promos on. Like usually when I put a new book out, I put a promo. Sometimes it's a free promo on a previous book, maybe in that same series, to get people to say, okay, well, maybe I'll get the free one, then I'll buy this one, those type of things, and get out there and do that. But it is a struggle. But the biggest thing is obviously write the best book you can. Get it edited well, get a decent cover, which is a challenge as well, so it stands out. And then, hopefully people will find it in there. And then you go to a lot of author events and hopefully get in front of people. And I do a lot. The other thing I do is a lot of craft fairs in the wintertime, the holiday craft fairs. I sell usually tons of books at those craft fairs because people, I'm a unique thing, an author at a craft fair a lot of times, and find those readers that go, oh, wow, you're a local author and you sell books? Oh, great. And they'll buy it for a family member or whatever. And then I get a lot of repeat business after that. So just a lot. You got to do a lot. It's especially when you're independent. It's pretty much all on your shoulders as much as you can. If you get your family to help, great.
Let me ask you this. With being an independent author, say you're the CEO of all the independent authors out there. If you could change one thing in the industry, what would it be and why?
Honestly, I think there's a couple things. One, how much money Amazon takes for your books is crazy sometimes. If you price your book $2.99 or less, they take 70% of the profit as an ebook. It's way too much. And when you're over $2.99, they still take 35%, I think it is. It's just too much. I mean, yeah, they're providing a store, but it's too expensive. Too much money that they take. And that's frustrating as an author when they take that big a cut, especially when you're independent. I like to change. The other thing is the way the review system is set up on Amazon is very painful sometimes. Like I said, you get these big name authors and they get 10,000 reviews like right off the bat. It's like, bam, they're just there. And a lot of independent authors struggle sometimes because Amazon will kick their reviews off for various reasons. One, now they require a reviewer to spend, I think it is, you have to be able to spend like at least $50 a year or something like that on Amazon. So if you don't buy anything from Amazon, they won't let you post a review, which I think is terrible.
Yeah,
Come on, Amazon, how much money do you need, Mr. Bezos? Yeah. And anything, I know you're paying an ex-wife, but so what? You got plenty of
the guy wants to own a football team now. I mean, come on. It's kind of funny you mentioned because I do the morning show, right? Well, I host this show, but I also have a morning show. And Jeff Bezos is one of our characters that we always use on the morning show. And the recent one was now he's looking to buy a football team. So to answer your question, the reason why he's taking so much money from you guys is he needs that money now to buy a football team. Like he don't have money in the bank or money on the side he can do to himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and the review process, there's a lot of times the reviews will be on there and then they'll get kicked off. I've had people who have been my reviewers for years and they ban them and they can't review them, and there's nobody to talk to resolve the problem because a lot of it is just AI stuff these days. So I think a lot of that is frustrating. I wish it was a lot easier, and it seems like it's weighted more for the big corporate authors that are under the big 4 or 5 publishing houses. They get a front seat. They don't seem to seem to run into the same issues that we do as independent authors that are fighting harder to get our name out there. And I wish that process was a little simpler and not as rigid the way they have it set up.
How do you deal with our writer's block?
That's a good question. That's one of the questions I ask on my show as well. And honestly, I have never, knock on wood, and we'll do that, never had true writer's block where I'm just completely stuck. I mean, I've just sit down and write, and I might slow down. I tell most people when I start a book, it's a little bit of a slog when I get started. It's a little bit of I'm still kind of feeling out what I want to do. And when I get to about a third to a halfway through and I see that end, it's a zoom. I just, bam, I just shoot out that last half, especially this last book. I wrote the last, and this last book's 134,000 words. The last 60, 75,000 words I did like in 4 or 5 weeks. It was just bang, 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 and really quick. And then I would go back and, I would have to edit some things. So sometimes I type faster than my brain. So sometimes I'll go back and go, what did I just type? But I've never really had true writer's block. And I think the biggest thing with the writer's block, and people who do have it and are struggling with it, I think, and I've had some good advice from other authors, and I think sometimes you just have to write your way through it. And even if it's just junk, you're still creating something. And when that idea is in your hand, you just got to sit down. And for me, when I'm writing, I just sit down and go, okay, this is today's idea, and then boom, 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 and I keep going from there. And I think that's what people have to do with writer's block. Or the other thing is, if you're stuck on that story and maybe you have an idea of a different story or different characters, start that one and then come back to it. Because if you're really stuck, put it aside and come back to it later, and start something else if you have another idea. I mean, if it's the only idea you have, that's kind of hard to do. But I think a lot of times you just sit there, okay, all right, I'm going to leave this one for now. I'll let it percolate and I'll start something else. And then you come back to it, and then bang, that idea hits you. And then, hopefully you knock it out pretty quickly.
You're going to like this next question. I'm looking at my cheat sheet. I'm going to ask this one to you because I was looking at my cheat sheet as I was listening to you. I'm like, yeah, I got to ask him this question. So check this one out.
Okay.
17 books, many different characters. If you had one of those books to star in a TV or a movie series, who would you want to see of all your characters? Who would you like to see to be your lead character in that movie or television series, and why?
Yeah, so I've been asked that question a lot, and I actually know at least for 2 of my major characters. For Jarvis Man, the Private Eye, I've had 2 people in mind in my lifetime: Bradley Cooper or Chris Pine. They would both, because they could do humor and they can do serious roles. They've both done, and either one of them would be perfect. Bradley likes to direct these days. He doesn't like to, but I think he was always my first choice. And then later on, I'm like, okay, well, Chris Pine would be my second one. And then for the Divine Devil series, Hunter Divine, I've had a couple of people. Michael B. Jordan would be fabulous playing Hunter Divine, absolutely fabulous. And a lot of people, they see my covers, which I have a bald black man as on the cover, and people say Shamir Moore, the one who played the SWAT character on the TV show. People say, is that him on the cover? I said, yeah, like I could afford him. And then Donnie Steele, which is my new character, I haven't really figured out who I'd want to play him yet. I'm in my book 2, and I'm still kind of working through that one. He's a little more of a he's dealt with his wife passing away, and a little more of a serious book. There's a little humor in it, but it's a little more of a serious book because it's kind of facing mortality and everything. And my age I'm just turned 67 just this week, so I'm.
Oh, happy birthday!
kind of, yeah, thank you. I was, I'm kind of, those things kind of crop in your mind. People are passing away, and you're going, I'm at the end of my life, and so that book's a little more kind of reflective in dealing with, even though the character's only in his mid to late 40s, is how old he is, but because his wife passed away from cancer, he's kind of had to deal with that and all that. So, but I'm still working out on who would play that character. I'm sure there's plenty of great actors out there that would do a good job.
When I bring you back for part two, we're going to find out who that person is because I'm the inquiring type of guy where I need to find out who that's going to be.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't quite pinned him down yet, but I'm sure I'll have an aha moment and say, yep, they would be great.
Russell K's available.
There you go. Well, you'll have to send me a demo then of yourself, right?
Oh man, if I sent you a demo, we probably would never talk again. It'd be like the one and done interview. Let me ask you this question. Well, we're having so much fun, Dave. What the heck? Are you working on? Do you have any like upcoming new projects that you're working on right now, or that you're going to begin working on?
Well, like I said, I'm in the editing process of Justice for the Accused. The next Jarvis book I've actually written, because there's a little bit of carryover from Mayhem in Music City that I wrote. So I've written like the first 9 or 10 chapters of that book. That's going to be the next one, and it's got a working title, which I won't reveal right now, but because it's still kind of floating around in my head. But that one is going to take place in Boulder, Colorado, and he's going to be helping an activist woman, kind of borrowing again from the headlines. So a lot of my stories kind of borrow things from the headlines, but she's an activist woman who's out there in front of people, trying to help, homeless people and against the government and all those things, and people are threatening to kill her. That was what the story. And then the third book in the Steel Wheels Cold Mystery series, I'm already kind of rolling around in my head. I haven't really started that since I'm still finishing book 2, but that one is likely going to take place in Arizona, is where he's going to travel in his motorhome to Arizona. And anyone who's read the series will know why he's kind of going around the country. There's a little bit there, a little backstory there that's taking him. First book was Colorado. The second book takes place in Minnesota. And the third book, he'll be in Arizona, in a motorhome in Minnesota in September. Before the winter hits, he's like, okay, I got to get south. And
there you go. We're in Myrtle Beach right now.
Yeah. You don't want to be in a motorhome living in Minnesota in the December and January.
Oh my goodness, that would be a disaster. Can you imagine? I like watching TikTok, right? Because it shows like some of these trucks that are driving in all that deep snow, all that bad weather, and they're flipping over and they're stuck and they're stranded. It's like, yeah, I'm not. I'm never going to be a truck driver.
Yeah, that's a tough job, especially in driving in the wintertime with the ice and and sometimes the ice is worse than the snow. I mean, when you get into some of the warm areas where you get the black ice.
Oh, that's the worst. You're driving and you see this road and it looks like it's clear as clear can be, and next thing you know, it's like you're driving all over the place. Kind of like our show today. It's driving all over the place today.
Yeah, those trucks are not designed for ice.
It is time for Coffee with Randy. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. We got some really fun questions. My producers look at me like, give me the thumbs up because he actually helped us put this together. Okay. And he wanted me to tell you, because he can't go live or anything, but he wanted me to tell you that he's actually read a few of your books. He's a big fan of them. He's a big fan of yours. He's like, hey, see if you can send us an autographed book to the studio so we can give it away on the air.
Okay. Well, you'll have to give me some information. I can send one your way.
All right, you're the man. All right, so we're going to call this Coffee with Randy. You can have some choices. Of the choices, you only can pick one. All right? All right, so we're going to kick it off with coffee or tea.
Only can pick one, huh?
Well, all right. So,
Tea. Have to be a
you're a cool
flavor.
guy, man. Go ahead and pick two and tell me why.
Well, and I don't drink coffee, so that's easy. I don't drink much tea. If it's a tea, it has to be a very flavored tea, so almost like a fruity type of tea. So it'd have to be tea over coffee.
Thank you, Jesus.
I
All
don't do
right.
I don't do caffeine. I gave up caffeine years ago, so I don't even do soda anymore that has caffeine in it anymore. So yeah, that was one of the best things I ever did was give up caffeine.
All right. Sunset or sunrise?
I like sunsets, especially here in Colorado. They're gorgeous, especially
All
with the
right.
mountains, and you're right, they're going down into the foothills. And sometimes when we have all the smoke and stuff and the pollution, there actually it's even prettier, which is not so good for us. But the views could be outstanding because of that haze and stuff and the orange glow. It's very pretty.
Are you a Denver Broncos fan?
I'm not a I root for the Broncos since I live here. I'm actually grew up in the Midwest. I'm a Packers fan, so I actually
Oh,
have
there
a
you go.
Packers.
My son will like you because he's a Green Bay Packer fan too.
Yeah,
Because I also covered NFL and all that, so I was teasing him about that. But anyways,
good.
moving on. Mountains or the beach?
Oh, mountains, 100%. There's no thing other than me than the mountains. That's why I moved to Colorado from Iowa years ago. Was the mountains? John Denver inspired me with all his songs about the Rocky Mountains.
Take me home, country roads.
Well, that was about West Virginia, but still pretty. That's a pretty area, and definitely mountains. And of course, Rocky Mountain High was these other big ones. So,
There you go. All right. Now getting to your books. Do you prefer paperback, hardcover, or ebook?
none of my books are in hardcover, so I could eliminate that one, unfortunately. But hardcover is easier to hold than a paperback. I love reading on a Kindle, but I'm kind of one of those. I like both, especially when you travel a lot. Like we travel a lot. I have a Kindle and I have one over here. I was reading it earlier today. It's easier to take one book, but there's nothing like the feel of a book in your hands, and that's the one thing. And I tell people all the time when they come to the table. And there's some people that's like, I can't read an e-reader. It's just it's not the same. It's just no matter what they do, it just doesn't feel the same. So, but if I had to narrow me down 100% on a choice, I would definitely pick a paper book over an ebook. But the ebooks are a very close second.
Awesome. All right. Do you prefer a pen and notebook or a laptop?
My handwriting is atrocious, so I have to. Has to be a computer. I sometimes write things that I can't even read, and I do make notes because I've got my little notepad, which is right here, which I do for when I'm doing my books and stuff, and I write things. And sometimes I look in there and I read it, and I go, "What the heck did I write there?" Sometimes, so my handwriting is so bad, so it has to be a computer.
All right. So while you're writing now, do you have any sweet or salty snacks that you eat while you're writing?
No, I don't snack while I'm eating. The only thing I always have, and I've got it right here, is I got my ice water. Always have water in there. I don't eat snacks. I'm another one of those people. I'm hoping I'm not stealing your questions. I don't listen to music. I'm one of those. I have to have complete silence. I cannot write if there's noise. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
That's cool.
a lot of authors talk about they'll play music while they're writing, and I can't do that. It's my brain. My brain cannot dual task and hear a song and try to write. I'd be writing the song lyrics in the middle of my book.
Can you imagine that? You put together a book and you think you can put it together correctly, and someone's reading a book, and all of a sudden they're like looking to us like, where did this come from?
Yeah, that's right.
I love it. All right. Are you a morning writer or a late night writer?
Morning. We're usually in bed we're usually sitting in bed at least watching TV by 8. I will be reading sometimes at that time of night, but not writing. Writing is morning and afternoon for me.
So let me ask you this, Randy. Do you like pizza?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What's your favorite pizza?
Well, my wife makes homemade pizza that's the best pizza. So that's my favorite. If I were to pick a pizza, there's a little place in Aurora called Mama Alvino's in Aurora, Colorado, that we'll go out of our way to get pizza and calzones from them when we're back over in Aurora, which is south and east of where we live these days.
All right. What's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh wow, that's a tough one because it always seems like there's so much. For years, I wish I could think of the name of it. Wow, I don't know that I can narrow down to one movie. There was a movie years and years ago that I watched. Children of the can't remember, but it was about a deaf woman, and it had Marlee Matlin was a deaf woman, and that was like my favorite movie forever. I used to love watching that movie, and it had I can't think of the male author. He passed away a few years ago and stuff.
Just take it up,
yeah. I might have to get back to you on that one, but I enjoy good comedies. I enjoy good action movies. We watch a lot of movies. We got so many DVDs downstairs. Of course, everything you stream these days, so the DVDs you don't really use as much as you used to. But we enjoy a lot of good movies, and they seem so disposable these days too. I mean, it seems like you watch them, and then you watch the next one and you completely forgot about the one you watched before. Some of them, they just don't stick with you like they used to because there's just so much of it out there, especially with all the streaming services and everything. So,
all right, got a few more for you.
Mm-hmm.
Who is your favorite author growing up?
Well, I mentioned that earlier. Robert B. Parker was my favorite, always been my favorite author, and loved him to death. The Spencer series, the Jesse Stone series. He had the Sonny Randall series. He also did a Western Cole and Hitch series, which I did not read, but he was a big inspiration, and always loved his Private Eye Spencer. And when I first started writing, at least the Jarvis Mann series, I always said I know I wanted to have a private eye. I wanted to have kind of a snarky private eye, always getting in trouble and tough, and love life's a bit of a mess. Though Spencer got settled down partway through. So some people don't like Susan though in the book series. So people says, would you get rid of Susan already? Because they didn't really like her character as much. So
Cats or dogs?
I've had both. We've had nothing but dogs lately. The first animals I ever had were cats, and I loved cats. But I'm a big dog person these days, and we love rescues. We're big. I always tell people, don't go to a puppy kennel to get, or these places that just churn out puppies left and right and stuff. Then there's so many good dogs in shelters that need homes, and that's where we've always found our dogs, and we've had great luck with them. But love our dogs, and as soon as we lose one, it isn't long before we get another one. So, unfortunately, you live longer than your dog, so you're going to go through quite a few in your lifetime.
Yeah, I've been there, done that. It's never.
It's tough.
Never a fun thing to go through, because you get so attached to them, and
yeah, they're like your kids. You're used to having them around, and you always remember them, and they'll always be a part of you, just like everything else. But usually afterwards, you're like, okay, let's find the next one and give it a good home. So,
yes. All right. So, if you weren't an author, what career would you be doing right now?
Well, I worked in the IT world for years and years and years, and that was my job before I retired. So if I were to have to go back to something, I'd probably look at that. But honestly, if my back could hold up, I enjoy working in the yard, working outside. So I work in our yard a lot, planting flowers, pulling weeds, setting up sprinkler systems. The problem is I'm getting a little too old. It's kind of hard work, but that's what I enjoy doing. And these days, because there isn't really a lot of stress involved. I don't miss the working world and the stress and everyone looking over your shoulder. So I'd have to say these days that would be what I would go to.
You've had many fictional characters in your books you discussed. If you pick maybe one or two of those characters, who would you like to have dinner with and why?
um, Brandon Sparks, who's kind of a good guy, bad guy in the Jarvis Man series. I'd love to sit down with him. He always has a Jack Daniels in his hand, drinking a little whiskey and stuff. He'd be good picking his brain. And then this would be kind of an odd dinner because it's with a dog. And my Steel Wheels Cold Mysteries, we do have a Belgian Malinois canine. He's a retired canine that my main character Donnie Steele had trained, and they both retire about the same time because the dog had an injury. I'd love to have dinner with him and see if I could get him to talk. That would be the challenge. It might be a one-way conversation, but I always enjoy a good dog, and especially one like him, which the commands for him are done in Dutch because they train the Belgian Malinois are usually trained with Dutch commands because they get them from overseas. So I had to learn some of the commands. So I'd be talking Dutch to him while we were having dinner.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, check out this one. So, who would be one historical figure that you would love to interview? You mentioned earlier you do a podcast and you kind of do the same thing I do where you interview other people. So, who's that person for you?
I would say, and that's a tough choice too because there's so many that I love to talk to. Martin Luther King Jr. I always thought he was a very fascinating character, and he was assassinated when I think I was 9, 10 years old. Love to sit down to talk to him and understand. I'm a white man, obviously, and he was a black man, and understanding what he dealt with down there and the racism and everything and all that. I just think he would be a fascinating and very inspirational character. I'd love to have a character like him in my books, but I feel like I would get hit for plagiarism because I'd probably copy him too much because of everything. But he would be really interesting to sit down and interview.
All right, a few more to go.
Mm-hmm.
And so, let's talk about your legacy. Throughout this interview, you've had an amazing career, 17 books, all kinds of characters, and you created all this by yourself. And so, one day when people look back and they remember the name Randy Ware, what does that legacy look like for you that you want them to remember?
Well, and I kind of have this is kind of in my bio too, but to me, I've always wanted to be known as a good father and a good husband. Honestly, that's to me the biggest thing. Who happened to write books that hopefully people enjoyed, and I think that's the biggest thing for me is, I came from a home that was broken and all that, and I didn't want to have that myself, and I wanted to hopefully raise a daughter who will carry on and do stuff. And she likes to write as well. She's actually in the computer world as well, so she's kind of followed in my footsteps somewhat. And my wife, but I think that's the biggest thing is good husband, a good father, and then who happened to write some hopefully entertaining books that people enjoyed.
How did you and Mickey and Creative Edge, how did you guys get together and what has he done for your career?
So Mickey, I actually was connected to Mickey through one of his other authors. And she's a friend of ours that lives up in the Boulder area. And she connected me to him. And I was just starting out with my podcast, and he was like, would you be willing to have some of my authors on your podcast? And so we made an agreement there. And then, he would provide me also some assistance when it comes to my author career. So, he press releases and things like that he's done for me. He has meetings, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a year where we get all the authors on and we talk about various things. We talked about AI recently, because that's such a huge issue right now with authors. all that, and it's been good talking with him on talk with him on the phone and stuff. So he's just helped get my name out there. He's helped me get on shows like yours and some other shows, and he's always throwing out offers to authors. That's a tongue twister. About hey, this promo thing is out there. Who's interested and things like that, and I think that's always been a big help. And he's juggling. I don't know how many authors he has these days, but he's got a lot. And I've had quite a few of his authors on the show, and they're always fascinating to hear. I always enjoy talking to authors about their books and their journey and everything else. Just like we're talking here, it's always interesting to see because everybody kind of gets there a little bit differently. There's some similarities, but everybody gets there with different things. They have different inspirations and. Some was just like I never read a book when I was a kid, and I just sat down and one day I just started writing a book, So, and
There
some
you go.
people it's like they have huge inspirations their whole life. So everybody's gets to that point in a different way.
Well, thank you so much for being on our show. And it's also real cool to speak to someone else that does the same thing I do. So now it's time to grade us from 1 to 10. What are we getting today?
Oh, so today was a 10. It's always a 10. It's always fun to
Cool.
talk books, and I'm always happy to be on in the future as well. So
Oh, we're bringing you back, man.
never
We're
have
bringing you
I
back
never
for
run
part
out of
two.
things to talk about. So
Yeah, we got a lot more to talk about, Randy.
yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you so much. Seriously, though, it was a pleasure and honor to meet you, and thank you for all that you do. And man, my hat's off to you. What an amazing career that you've built. And you should be proud of that because you're getting the results. You're getting people watching and buying your books and all that, and you're getting such great reviews as well. So kudos to you for all that, and thank you for being a part of our show. And you take care of yourself, all right? And we'll definitely see you back here again soon.
Okay, sounds great. Thanks, Russell. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
Randy Ware on the Artist Spotlight Show. What a great interview that was. Again, if you're an upcoming aspiring artist, you want to be on the show, not too far away. Just send your request to info.musicdreamsusa@gmail.com. Again, a special thank you to Mickey with Creative Edge as he supplies our authors each and every week here on the Artist Spotlight Show. And stay right with us. We got another interview come up just around the corner. And stay right where you are. And we're broadcasting you live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and if you go to the YouTube channel, it's Music Dreams USA Radio Official. Go to that channel, subscribe, and like it, and you'll be able to check out all of our interviews right there. We'll be back here in just a little bit with another live interview for you on the Outer Spotlight Show. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.